Hello, front office rock stars, front office team members, Eaglesoft users. This is Laura and Andre, and we are excited you are here. This is our second webinar that we have done together, and the reason we are doing our second one is because we got such positive responses last time. We've decided that there's a need for learning about Eaglesoft. And I am the owner of Front Office Rocks, and I'm all about helping front office team members learn everything they need to be successful in the front office. And Andre is my go-to Eaglesoft person. I've been working with Eaglesoft since 2002, but he knows the ins and outs, and I'm excited to learn from him. So I'm glad everybody's here, and I'm super excited because we've had our highest number of registrations ever for this webinar. I think we have 180 front office rockstar people on this webinar. So Andre, thank you for joining us today.
Good to see you. It's last time we saw each other, we were in the sun.
We were in the sun. We were in Jamaica. So we were just talking about some of the fun places that we crossed paths. So for those of you who are probably wondering why I'm wearing a hat, I'm actually on my way out to fly to another dental meeting. So I thought I would kind of show off some of my dental front office rockstar logo stuff that I have if anyone's interested in being a dental front office rockstar. But sorry for the casual look, but I thought it would be most important to get this webinar going and not try to reschedule it. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the report section in Eaglesoft, because we want to break down each section in Eaglesoft. And reports isn't really fun or sexy or exciting, but it's something that you need to understand because there's a lot of data that you can pull from Eaglesoft from reports. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go over with you what we're going to talk about today, and then I will pass it over to Andre. He's going to pull up a report screen. I'm going to kind of lead the discussion with him, make sure we stay on task with what we want to talk about, but I'm also going to be taking your guys' questions. So if you guys want to put on the left-hand side in the attendee chat, you can ask questions there, and I will monitor the questions and then ask accordingly. If we don't get to your question because we run out of time, because we do want to keep this just to an hour, then we will answer your questions after the webinar. And you can reach out to either of us. We're going to have our contact information. So if you watch this later on YouTube, please feel free to reach out to us because we're here to help. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Eaglesoft. And I brought in Andre, like I said. So Andre, can you just give us a little bit of question or a little bit of background of who you are and why I bring you in when I need help with Eaglesoft?
Well, I was one of the original users of Eaglesoft. This is my 29th year in dentistry, and to date, I've been in more than 5,000 practices. So along with being a Patterson certified Eaglesoft trainer for about a decade, I ran a practice management consulting company for 30 years. So I come at this from both the standpoint of a longtime Eaglesoft user, somebody who took a practice to be paperless in 1998, way before we had to, up to the point of now going into practices and helping them get more out of the software.
Yes.
So that's how I come at this.
There you go. And if you are not a member already, Andre has a great group on Facebook called Andre's Eaglesoft Field Guide. And I just told him I was in Boston last week, and I tell everybody who uses Eaglesoft to join it, because Andre not only helps answer questions, but he also gives step-by-step instructions on every question that we have when it comes to Eaglesoft. And if it's not in there, if he hasn't already answered it, I know that you write the new instructions for everybody. So it's been a great resource for everyone. So I want everyone to join that group on Facebook. And there's Andre and I when we were in Jamaica. I think I look a little tired there. Maybe I think
I was too.
I know. We needed to get a new picture. Work during the day and have some fun at night. So that's who Andre is. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about reports. We're going to do a report overview, just kind of talking about, how that section of Eaglesoft works. We're going to talk about smart documents, like what goes into smart docs. We're going to talk about patient filter. I know that's a question a lot of time is how do we filter and what do each fields mean? I'm going to ask Andre what he thinks the most important reports are. Maybe I have some different ones. So we'll talk about, in the office, what we use. And then, like I said, I'll open it up for questions and we'll answer any questions that you have. So that's what we're doing today. So Andre, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to you if you want to take control of the screen. And while you're doing that, I'll just say that I want to do an overview of reports, especially for people who are brand new. I'm going to turn my webcam off because there we go. Now you need to share your screen, I think. People who are brand new who don't understand, what the report section looks like, favorites, quick reports, what's the difference between all of them. So Andre is going to take over. He has his own Eaglesoft on his computer. So that's how much he geeks out on Eaglesoft. He actually plays with it at home and tries to figure things out because the software is there to help us, but many times we got to figure out the workarounds for our office. So you getting it over onto your screen?
Yeah, it's not looking.
Technology issues. It's like when you walk into the office and the server's down and you got patients walking in, right?
It's true. Let's see what happens.
There we go. All right.
Let's see if I can get Eaglesoft to come up.
Okay. Fingers crossed. There we go.
Get rid of my camera. All right, do you see Eaglesoft now?
There we go. We see Eaglesoft. And so everybody who's watching, I'm going to be watching the attendee chat on the left, and we'll let Andre start showing us reports.
Good. So let's start with, I always go to reports directly from my printer. Yeah, there's a reports button up at the top, but I'm just so used to the picture, I'm going to go right to reports here. A couple of the things that were on the list were, how to get information in SmartDoc. One of my favorite reports, honestly, is the patient analysis report. And quick, easy way to get there from your keyboard. If you hit P, it'll take you right down to the reports that start with P instead of having to scroll through it. And let's go into the patient analysis report. So process this report. And of course, this is a fictitious practice, so this is not going to give you a whole lot of patients. But what I want to look at when I look at this report, and I'm going to enlarge it so we get a better idea, is the number of active patients in your practice. All right. The number who have insurance. All right. And the breakdown of male to female. What I always look at in this report, and again, this is not a real office, so this is not a real report, but I want to see this breakdown be 60-40, where 60% of the patients are female and 40% of the patients are male. And immediately when I open up a report and it looks like this, I can probably figure out that the office is entering men. I mean, this is going to sound sexist, but entering men as patients when they really aren't. They're probably policyholders or they're responsible parties, but aren't patients, but they have been erroneously marked as patients, which overinflates the patient numbers of male.
So let's just make sure for everyone to understand. Yep. So there's 3 categories you can be in Eaglesoft. You can be a patient, which means you're actively being seen or going to be seen. You could be a responsible party, which means you are the one responsible for the family, the children, scheduling the appointments, the bills and all that. And then you could be the policyholder, which means you hold the insurance for the family or the person, right?
Exactly. I mean, the easiest way that I explain when I'm doing training is a patient gets treatment, a responsible party gets the bill, and a holder's name is at the top of the policy. All right. And remember, with Eaglesoft, we can share. So even if you have a divorce situation and a couple has, 2 separate accounts, they can still share insurance, and the children could be responsible for one side of things and insurance on another side of things. So, and a lot of times what we see is offices will set Eaglesoft up like other softwares, and they'll actually create duplicates of patients so that one is a policyholder and one was a responsible party and one's a patient, and they'll have 3 versions of the same patient.
Yes. And
that will really skew up this report.
So, and I find that when somebody doesn't search for a person before they put in a new patient. So you have them in as a policyholder or responsible party, and then you go and enter them as a brand new patient. When really they're in there, all you have to do is just change it and add the field of patient, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why if you look at this number over here on the right, so patients without first visit, that's a perfect indication there's 15 people in the system who've never been seen. which is an indication typically that somebody was marked as a patient, but they've never been to the practice. So they probably are a policyholder or a responsible party.
So I have somebody who asked me, how do you have two parents on an account without one being categorized as a patient?
Because we have that all the time in pedo practices where the responsible party and policyholders are never patients in the practice. So we just don't check that box. As we build them, and I always think about, we build a tree. So we build the trunk of the tree, which is the responsible party, the sort of the foundation. And then we put a branch on there, which might be the policyholder. And then we add leaves to that tree, which are the patients. So it's an easy way to look at it, but the none of which have to be patients. So you could have policyholders, you could have responsible parties, and you could have, you could actually have four policyholders in the system, primary, secondary, and then just have the kids attached to it.
Right. Okay, awesome, great. So that helps a lot with that.
Yeah. So again, I love looking at this report because, again, now not a real office, but I've only seen one patient in the last 24 months in this practice. So that's really, I know it's a sad practice, but we charge them $1 million, so we're doing okay. But this is a perfect example of when you're looking at the number of patients who are actually coming in and the number of patients that the system says are active. That's where you're starting to see some real differences in numbers.
Okay, that's awesome. And so with this, there's a couple of things that I know that I've pulled out of this, just when it comes to like marketing, when it comes to calling overdue patients, when it calls in like reactivation. So this is a great place to go to see how your practice is doing and to proactively decide what you're going to be working on to try to increase the practice, correct?
Oh, yeah. And if you, from a marketing standpoint, if you also look at your age groups, if you're in the 60 to 70 plus age group, maybe the newspaper is the right advertising medium for you.
Yes.
As opposed to, if you're in the lower, the 20, 29 age group, then Instagram might be a great option for you.
And so, I also think the pictures that you use, if you've got an older practice, you would use pictures of an older couple. If you've got family practice, you would use family pictures. So there's a lot you can pull from that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, this is my go-to report when I walk into an office. I want to see this before I see almost anything else, because this tells me staffing. How many active patients do you have? We'll tell you how much you need in staff.
Okay.
So,
somebody
tells a lot.
Patients without a first visit usually are the responsible party. So more than likely, if we see something like that, that means we've marked them as a patient, and either we need to get them rescheduled or scheduled, or we need to unmark them as a patient if they're truly a responsible party, correct?
True. And the only other option is they could be new patients who you scheduled yesterday and just haven't come in yet. But that's kind of unlikely. You may have 22 new patients who you've scheduled who have a future appointment. So that number can be skewed off by new patients. Okay.
All right. And what determines a new patient in Eaglesoft?
Well, depends on the report you're running. So, and again, we'll talk about a different report. I never use the new patient reports in Eaglesoft. And, I'm kind of a rebel about this, but I never use the reports in Eaglesoft to show me new patients, because what I want to see is how many patients came in for a particular procedure. So when I think new patients, I want to see the number of patients who came in a period of time, let's just say March. How many people came in March who had a D150, D0150, a comp exam?
Yes.
But I also create a new code, which is a A0140, which is an emergency patient who was seen for the first time. So when I run my new patient reports, I'm looking at how many patients came in for a comp exam and how many patients came as new patients through our emergency channels.
Yes.
So I look at it a little differently. So I don't really use any of the reports that just print off new patients for a period. Because new patients seen this month could be very different if this was the first time they've been in, or this was, especially some of the resort areas that I work in, maybe somebody came in as a new patient, but they just had a crown reinserted or, an adjustment to a denture.
Yeah. And that's going to, no matter, as long as the procedure's walked out on this report, it's going to consider them a new patient.
Exactly.
Right. That doesn't mean that they've actually had the comp exam. Okay, great. Yep. Somebody asked, just as I'm trying to keep up with the questions, how do I print the patient analysis report? You just go to the top to print.
Yep. So we process it.
Yeah.
and there's a print button up there.
Yeah. And one of the things, because you jumped ahead on us, so I'm excited, but can you go back to the main screen with the reports and tell us what the difference is for each one of those? Okay, so first of all, you said you can hit P, and that would take you to everything that starts with patient or anything that starts with the word P, and that's a fast way to get to the right section. But Eaglesoft has also gone through and kind of categorized the type of reports you might want to look for, and then there's my favorites and quick reports. Can you explain the differences between those?
Yep. So you can actually, when I told you this was my favorite report, I can actually right click and I can add this report to my favorites. And now when I go to my favorites, there's my patient analysis report right there. And you can see the reports that I keep in my favorites.
And so that's per user, right? So I can have my favorites, you have your favorites.
Exactly. It's workstation specific. So it's not user specific, but workstation specific. So anybody working at my desktop will have these as the favorites on this computer.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can actually group reports together and then put them into the quick reports. So I have set up my daily reports, which will give me my day sheet, my deposit reports, whatever you want to set up as your reports. So you can set up, my daily reports, my end of month reports, whatever you want to do as groups of reports that you want to print. A lot of the consultants that I've worked with will have their own little group of reports that they want to print. So we'll have an Andre report run, or whatever it might be.
Okay. Great. Yep. So now we've got a lot of people who are interested. If we're saying that new patient on that quick report doesn't show us all, it just shows anybody who walked out anything. How do we actually find out the patients that have visits, haven't had visits, had a comp exam? Are you going to show us that next, or is that on your list? Okay.
Well, it's on my list, but let's just take another look, because this is one way to get a report is from your report listing. The other way to get a great report, and my favorite way to get reports, is through activities, practice management, and Money Finder. And with Money Finder, I can actually find a lot more information, because I can really go in and I can say, let's just use the report that we just talked about. So I want to say people who've had a completed D0150 for a period of time. And because this is a phony system, I won't put a timeline in there. And let's say, let me look at all the people who had a 150, but at this point are not scheduled. So this is a great way of saying these are all the people who came in for a comp exam, but are not coming back anymore. They walked out without getting another appointment. We could do the same thing by saying, show me all the people who came in for a D0140. And again, I have another code for my first time emergency exams. But let's say they came in for emergency exam, but they didn't schedule as they were leaving. So we got them out of pain and they said, that's it, I'm done. I don't need any more appointments. So the same thing, we could run that report for a period.
Got it.
And this is a better way to be able to find new patients. And even, like we said, based on our age range, let's see how many new patients we had in a certain age range after we've done some sort of marketing campaign.
All right. So my whole hope with this training that we're doing and we're sharing is that sometimes consultants who know Eaglesoft inside and out, like you, go through things and we're like, yeah, this looks great. And then you leave and we can't remember what you did. And we don't know what these fields are. Can you walk us through kind of just a quick overview of what the fields mean if somebody's trying to look for something?
Okay. So let me close this out and I'm going to take you back. So it's under activities, practice management, and Money Finder. All right. And in Money Finder, these areas, this is Nra, which is next regular appointment, which consider anything with the doctor is a regular appointment, and next preventive appointment. So that would be anything in the hygiene department.
And I got to tell you, that's confused. Every time I sat down, I got confused because I always thought NRA was next recare appointment. So if you're sitting at the front desk, I would put like a little reminder for yourself what NRA and is an NPA, because that wasn't super clear for me.
Yeah, I have people calling it next restorative appointment, which is not correct either, because somebody could be coming in for periosurgery. Okay. So, and then are they on a short notice? Most people aren't using short notice, so that's kind of unimportant. Does the deductible apply? That's kind of unimportant. Have they failed or canceled appointment? This is a great option to use if you're trying to do a sort of a quick call list and you don't want to be mired with a bunch of people who've broken multiple appointments. So you could use that part. Most offices aren't using preferred appointment time, but this is a great tool. Those who have insurance and those without insurance. So this is a great tool to be able to run a list of sort of a reactivation list, especially if you're doing that end of year patients without remaining benefits. And then if you want to do a report by provider, it allows you to pick a preferred doctor. So if I only want to pull for Dr. Beer's patients, I could do that, or the entire office. Now, this field here that says recall notes to include. Most people put things in this recall notes field and don't even realize what the field is for. But I'm going to edit a patient over here and show you this field. And show you that you can use Money Finder to actually draw people. So back at the Stone Age, when I worked in a dental office, we actually we put notes up here like W for whitening patients, I for implant patients, P for perio patients who were going back and forth to the periodontist, and O for our ortho patients. So I can actually run that Money Finder report and only pull out patients who have a W. So I could say, give me only people who have had whitening and run that report. There's my one person that's got the W.
So they've had whitening done is what you're looking for here?
Yeah. Now we have, because we have a code that we can use for whitening, we can pull it differently. But if you, imagine if you were just trying to track all those patients who you refer to Dr. Hatch. We could do that if you put an H in there. So you could come up with your own sort of letter code in order to be able to utilize that field for
Could it also be used for people who have an interest in that, like have brought it up and then we want to maybe talk to them about it if we're having a whitening special or something like that?
You could, but you can also use Money Finder just to search the code. So if you said that they had a plan, again, if the office is actually proposing those services.
Right.
So if they had a planned service and it was the whitening code that you guys use in the office, then sure, you can do it that way.
Okay, great. Yeah. That's awesome.
So it's a great tool to be able to do some sort of data mining. And my favorite way to do this is those who've had a completed D3330, so a root canal for a period of time, say 3 years ago or 2 years ago, but they lack a completed crown. D2740. So those are all the people who had a root canal, but they've never had a crown on that tooth.
Right. And I have to tell you, anybody that's listening from the office manager perspective, when I hear my team members say there's nobody else to call, like we've called everybody, there's nobody, use this because there's always somebody to call. There's never a time when there's not a patient you can call to try to get them reactivated, get them in the schedule, get treatment done.
Yeah. I actually, right before Easter, I had one of my offices that's got a fairly large population of kids. What we did is we went to patients who are not scheduled, who have insurance, who lack sealants, D1351, and are between 7 and 14 years old. And we just drew a list of patients who've never had sealants, and we sent a marketing campaign through our friend Revenue sent a marketing campaign that said, hey, you're about to eat jelly beans and cotton candy. You should get it and have your teeth sealed.
Yeah. And that's actually, you brought that up. That's the best thing about right now, because I feel like I worked in the Stone Ages a little bit too. But now we have technology where you can just run the report and then have something like Revenue help you send out a mass email. It doesn't have to necessarily just be phone calls, but you can do a quick find everybody that needs a crown. And that's and then that's a fast way to get some work in the schedule. So that's great.
Yeah. So, and like I said, this is a great reporting tool because you can get down to really, especially when I see some of the questions that come across the Facebook page, they're asking for very specific things. And this is a way to get a very specific report instead of having this, this 20-page report that you've got to then filter down.
Yeah, and this is much like you said, because you go to unscheduled treatment plans, or it's just the report's huge, and we always start with A, and then we never get to N and F, V or whatever at the end. So, I had somebody ask a question: if you search for completed endo and uncompleted crowns, is it going to confuse the tooth numbers? For example, if you've got endo on number 3, but a crown was completed on number 5, does that make sense? And how does that work?
It might, but even even still. Hopefully it's going to be a short list. And if we're talking about 20 people on the list, as opposed to some massive treatment plan report, it's a lot easier to deal with.
It's also a good way to clean up treatment plans. So you pull that report and then you find somebody, got it done somewhere else or somebody's whatever. It's a good way to clean up because otherwise we've just got Eaglesoft full of a lot of gook. I want to keep it clean, but yeah, so it's a good way to go through and kind of clean it up.
Yeah, and I was in an office that they had a lot of lab work that wasn't inserted, and they were going to use this project to go through. And I said, why don't we just do this? D2750. Oops, let me see. D2750. All right, for a period of time, and then they completed A2998, which is a crown insertion in this particular office. So this was and again, 2750 are going to be lab-made crown as opposed to 2740, which they were using a CEREC machine. So what we did was we ran this report, and we were able to identify all the crowns that were never inserted.
I have to tell you, after all the training I've had in Eaglesoft, that I didn't understand Money Finder as much as I'm learning right now. So for everybody who's watching this, they can just go ahead and PayPal us the money for the value of this webinar. I tell you what, this is great. I think this is going to help a lot of offices.
Yeah, this is the best tool in the whole world because this is like, and every time somebody says, "Can I run a report about this?" I go, "Sure you can. Just open up Money Finder." And a lot of people have never ever even heard of it.
Right. And I think the activities is a good point too, because I think a lot of people don't understand like how to get to it. I know I was searching around and trying to find it whenever I was looking for Money Finder. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, activities, practice management, and Money Finder. It's a fantastic tool. Perfect. So, and we kind of, we jumped off of reports, but like I said, this is, most people who are looking for reports, the daily reports, the monthly reports, those things are all great, but this is what typically people are asking for when they're saying, I want to report about this. What they're saying is they want to find this very specific thing, and Money Finder might be the option.
So can you give us, I guess, like I'm thinking right now for perio, patients had been diagnosed or had 4341 but didn't have a 4910. What are some of your favorite things to help an office say, to run if they're looking to try to find stuff to put in the schedule?
Well, I'll take a step back on that. One of the things that's really important is to have some, what I call them admin codes. So sort of the things that close the loop. So did they have this, but they didn't have that? When we show somebody who's had 3 quads of scaling, but maybe that's all they needed. So maybe we need to have a code that says finalized, periotherapy or something like that, so that we post it when that procedure's done, so that when we do this Money Finder, we're not getting these, reports that don't tell us the true story. So it works, but you've got to close the loop. For everything every procedure that I have something that closes the loop. So if I'm going to make a full upper denture, I've got a delivery of a denture code. So no matter what, I can tell what stage I'm at in that process too.
So you're saying then, just so everybody understands, in some of these things, you make an in-office code that you can use just so that you can start tracking down patients that didn't get the completed service.
Yeah. And I think a lot of offices will have like a delivery of a crown code or a delivery code, but I'm very specific. So, everything in my system is to finish this procedure is a 998. So if a doctor does a 2-stage endo, it's a 3998 to finish that root canal. If we deliver a denture, it's a 5998. If I'm delivering a bridge, it's a 6998. If I'm, following up on a surgery, it's a 7998. So everything closes the loop with that, so that I can run my report and say how many crowns or how many dentures did we do, how many try-ins did we do, how many wax did we do, how many bite rims did we do. So I can run any of those reports and then say, okay, we got to the wax rim stage. Did we actually deliver it? And you can do it with those admin codes.
Got it. So I see a future webinar. We won't get into it now, but actually break down where do you go in service codes? How do you add service codes? What do all the buttons mean in there? So, because I think that's something that's, helpful, way helpful in the office. And I don't think a lot of employees or team members know. So somebody says, can you preview Money Finder report or do you always have to print it?
Oh, no, you can always preview. Let's see, I have no data that matches my process, but yes, you can preview it. It shows you on the screen. But let me show you something that you might, I guess no crowns on patients between 7 and 14. So that's why that didn't show up.
Probably not, right?
Yeah, let's do this. I'll print this report. You'll see it goes into a preview stage. But this is, let's talk paperless office. I see so many people killing trees running these reports.
Oh my
Let's
God.
do this. Let's print this report, all right? But let's not actually print it. Let's send it to In Contact. And let me find a report that I can actually do. Let's see if I can find one that I can run it to In Contact. Well, In Contact is a tool that when you actually are generating these reports, so I'm going to actually send this to In Contact instead of printing it.
Somebody asked if we can zoom in on this. I don't think we can make these any bigger, those little field or screens that you have up, can they?
No, I don't think, yeah. I think it's
what I recommend for those who can't really see is go play with this after the webinar and go look in your own software so you can see what he's referring to.
Yeah, and you won't hurt anything by running these reports.
Yeah.
So, but I'm actually going to, right up here, I'm going to send this to In Contact instead of printing the report. And now it says Money Finder prospect for April 11th. Now that report has been generated, but there's nothing coming out of my printer because what I'm going to do is close this out and I'm going to click on this little phone here, which nobody ever pays attention to. That's In Contact. And there's my list. Imagine I had 20 people. There's my list of people who are in that Money Finder report.
Awesome. That's great. So you can just run through it and not have to print everything out. Because once you print the report, it sits on the desk, it gets old, and then it's not being used anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have other questions coming up on other reports. So I want to make sure we get to that. Can you tell us again, somebody asked, that what is NRA versus NPA? So they're very clear when they're doing Money Finder what the difference is.
Okay, so everybody has a next preventive appointment and a next regular appointment. So the regular appointment is the appointment scheduled with the doctor, and the preventive appointment scheduled with the hygienist.
There we go. Okay, good. And then, so is there, okay, so I have somebody who's going to be ask me about AR. So I want to get into AR in a minute. I have somebody who asked me, is there a report to pull to determine how many PPO patients are in their schedule versus Medicaid patients?
No, because Eaglesoft sees insurance as insurance. There's a managed care utilization report that will actually show you what you're writing off for those PPOs versus medical assistance or whatever, if you're using fee schedules. So here's my Medicaid in my system, and I've charged out $135. All right, but I don't have a fee schedule in here. And it would show me how much the difference between my standard fee and what the fee that I'm charging out would be. So that's really all you're going to be able to see, and you can do it for a period of time, so you could see what was utilized during that period. But you're not going to see it on the schedule.
Got it.
It would be after the fact because Eaglesoft doesn't know that person has a PPO or Medicare or Medicaid until you've processed the service. So it wouldn't show you from a scheduling standpoint, but it would show you from a walkout standpoint.
Got it. So a lot of people like that In Contact that you just showed us. Somebody asked if you can use In Contact for the recall wizard.
You can send everybody into your In Contact field. And the great thing is at the bottom here, it shows you a lot about the patient, like, when their last payment was, when they're due back in, if they've broken appointments. The neat thing is I can just right click and I can go into their edit patient screen. So imagine I'm calling and the number is disconnected. Well, I can go in here and change it. I can schedule the patient. So I can do everything from here. And if I mark this person as that I left a message for them, and then I get busy and I have to, come back to this again, I'll just okay it, go back to my list later today, and my information's there. I can make notes. This is a great tool to be able to do this.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. So we've had a couple questions coming in about AR. They want to talk about reports when it comes to delinquent. It says we've just started trying to use the delinquent account report instead of our AR report for past due accounts. Is there any other ones that you recommend? And I also have somebody who is looking for a report for patients with outstanding balances after insurance. So can you talk about those reports for us?
Okay, so the accounts receivable by responsible party is the one that's most commonly done, and then we are able to filter it down. It really depends on what you're looking for, and this is kind of where I come with reports. Do you need a report, or do you need to go to some place that actually has an activity to clean up that report? Because running an accounts receivable report or running a report for outstanding claims might be a waste of paper when we can go directly to the claims area and deal with the claims that are outstanding. So the report's great, but the report's static and we only know what it's about for the time we printed it. But this accounts receivable by responsible party is probably the most common report. This comes as a packet when you do your end of month reports. But we can do it by the balance, range of balances. A lot of people this year had to go through the process of finding people who had credit balances. A lot of the states were looking for that money to be handed over to the treasury of that state. So running credit balances, giving that money over to the state in order for them to hold it, to be able to give to patients or issuing refunds, that was a big part of this.
So can you run a report that just shows credits?
Sure. If we do a negative 9999999 to a negative $0.01 or 0 cents, that'll give me credit balances.
Okay, great.
Yep. But this report is probably the best. But if you're looking for people who owe you money, the delinquent account report could be an issue. But again, and people will see this all the time on the Facebook group. My question when they ask about reports is, why are you running that report? Because I can just go into my claims area. I can look at my claims only and look at open claims and sort it by date. And now I can see there's a claim that's 4,600 days old. I don't think I'm going to get paid on that one. But, I can quickly see what claims are outstanding from this and be able to do something about it. Instead of just running a report, then I have to go do something else in the system. So reporting is not always the key, but understanding where that information is to do something about the report is really important.
All right. So somebody just asked me, how did he get to the mini window he is on? I'm not sure which mini window they were talking about. Do you know what they're asking?
maybe the claims window, which is, there's a claims button usually on the top toolbar. It comes as a default. So you have a claims button.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to say claims only. I don't need to see pre-authorizations. And I want to see the open claims and then sort it by days outstanding.
There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there a report that we can catch walked out procedures that are not attached to a claim?
This comes up all the time. In Eaglesoft, if you walk out a procedure, it will send to insurance if the patient has insurance. So there isn't a report because it would be almost impossible to walk out a procedure that would not then send to insurance. Now, I've gotten some scenarios where people have said, well, what if I closed a claim and then I reopened the claim and I forgot to attach it? Well, Eaglesoft will see that as, Eaglesoft would assume that you knew what you were doing when you reopened that claim. So maybe you missed the bite wings when you reopened the claim. There would be no report because you manually reopened the claim and did not include it. So there isn't a report that shows those services, and that question's come up a bunch of times.
Yeah. Okay. So what other favorite reports do you have in here? I have somebody who did ask, and I want to make sure we cover that too. What are the management reports are helpful to run weekly and monthly. So can you tell us some of your recommendations?
My all-time favorite report is the most simplistic report there is, and that's the day sheet. And it's the report that I ran as a consultant. And I'm just going to take this year and see what I have in here. Okay, because I need to know my production, I need to know my collections, and I need to know my adjustments. The AR impact is only applicable on the day that you run this report. So if you're running a historic report, it's not going to mean anything. But I run this report because I want to see for the month what kind of collection ratio we had. What was our average production per visit? Let me blow this up. Let's see how big I can get this so people can see it. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, good. In this field, I want to see my average collection per visit, all right, and the collection ratio that I have. So this is the report that I run most often for that week or that month or whatever period of time you're looking at, because this tells me a lot more about the practice by looking at production, collections, and adjustments. The detail you're going to get on a daily basis, but this is something where you want to look at a sort of step back and look at a bigger picture. It's a great way of also seeing, these are kind of mistakes that were made. Things were posted and then removed from it. How much are we adjusting off? And this should show your write-offs for insurance. So this will tell a big story.
Right. And so the day sheet is included in end of day. Is that something that's automatically generated, or do we have to put it into the end of day reports?
It's there by default, but some office, you can pick and choose what your defaults are. But most people who haven't changed this would be a standard report that they're printing. But you can print this at any point. This day sheet could be printed at any point and for whatever period of time you want. But one thing that's important, if you're running reports, you see these two range of end of days and range of end of dates. This is really, 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 really important when you're running reports, because sometimes people will run two reports and they'll pick two different choices here, and then they're comparing apples to oranges. Think about the end of day like your bank statement. Your bank statement comes out, and the information that's on the bank statement are the things that happened during the period of time that your bank statement was available. It's not going to show a check that you wrote. You wrote your nephew a check back in June, and then they cashed it in August. All right, it's not going to show a June check. It will only show up in the August bank statement. So that shows the end of days versus the range of end dates. Now, if you ran that end of date for that check, and you ran it for June, you would see that check because it was dated in June. So the easiest way to think about it is the date of service is the range of dates. And the date that it was processed through Eaglesoft, end of day, shows up in your range of end of days. So you have to make sure that you're comparing apples to oranges when you're running these reports and comparing two reports.
That's awesome. All right, I have some more questions. Are you ready? They're coming fast and furious. This is I feel like I'm like MC of Andre's show here. This is great. Are there any reports that show what we are actually going to collect at the end of any given day, taking into account insurance coverage?
No, there is no report that's going to show that.
Okay.
You're going to get gross numbers if you look at the schedule. If you look at almost any report, you're going to get gross numbers. What I tell offices, you have to look back in history. Look at your average adjustments for the month before. Go back 6 months and look at your average adjustments. And then you can kind of get a ballpark. So, a lot of the offices I work with, we look at their scheduled production, and then we look at their end of month production. And now I have a general idea what every office is going to be writing off each month. So I know if we're scheduling $100,000 in production and we have a normal adjustment of 22%, where we're going to be at the end of the month.
Yep, definitely. And that's a great thing to go over with your doctor every year, to show them how much you're writing off when you're in network.
Oh, yeah.
So the screen somebody was looking for, the mini window I asked you about earlier, says when he was in the AR report by responsible party, he had a mini window on the top with more specific criteria.
Right. I went to the accounts receivable by responsible party, processed that, and then I went to the filter button up at the top.
I was going to ask you about, can you talk what filter, sorts, and other things are up there on the top of the reports? Because they don't work for all of them, but what are they used for?
Right. So if you get a report that you're able, let's just go back up here and let's see if I can blow this up a little bit more. If you're able to filter a report, you can. A lot of the reports you can't sort, but some of them that you can, you're able to say, if I want the 60-day to go over in this column or something like that, you're able to sort by column header. And the ruler just shows you this ruler bar at the top. So there's not much there.
Yeah, the ruler doesn't really do much, does it?
No, it doesn't help you much at all. But the filter button is where we were in that little window that she was talking about. This allows me to do filters and actually say a range of balance, or the last payment dates, or personal payments versus insurance payments, or if I want to just see ortho patients or not, which is a big issue. A lot of people only want to see what's in the ortho balance. And then if I want to see only people who are 90 days old or 60 days old or 30 days old, this allows you to do that filter.
And I have to say, for those listening, pretty much, I would say 90% of the time, if you feel you can get a report out of Eaglesoft, you can. So go to their FAQs, go to support, get some live help, because it's probably, there's a few reports like, do we know how much do we actually collect every day? We can't get. But, you can get help to pull out things like this. If we're not going over everything in this webinar, but, reach out to support and they can help you get the report on what you need.
Yeah, just be very clear that, if you don't, try the report while you have them on the phone. And if you don't get what you're looking for, ask the question a second time.
Yeah. Or go to Eaglesoft's Field Guide, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Somebody asked, and I already know the answer to this, so I'm an Eaglesoft expert too. Can you run an end of day sheet, or can you run the report without actually doing the end of day? And yes, you can look at your end of day report at any point. In fact, whenever I went into the office and it was 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, I go right there to just kind of see how the day is going. So you don't actually have to, it's not going to mess up your end of day, the actual processing of it.
Yep.
Somebody says they ran a patient analysis report, and they have over 1,000 patients without a first visit. I think that they're not real new patients. Any thoughts on what they're looking at?
So let's do another report, and let's go to I went down to my P, and I'm going to go to patients, all right, without visits. So this is what I would suggest for that person to do, is actually to run this patients without visits report. And what that will, let's see if I even have anybody in this system. Yeah, so these are actually patients who've never been into my practice. So this is a good, clean way to run a report, to go and look at it. And again, it could be somebody who's due in tomorrow, but for the most part, if you run this report, this could be patients who have never been in the practice, and they're either, they called and they canceled, or they called and somebody set them up as a patient, but they were a responsible party or a policyholder.
Yep.
But this is a great way to run it.
You can sort on that one. Can you show us that?
Yeah, there you go. So I can sort, and I can say, oh, I want this not by first name, but let's do it by home phone number. And I can then sort it by home phone number.
There you go.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, great. So can you now, there's a report, I don't know if everybody knows this, but duplicate duplicate name report. I find that's a good one for cleaning up things.
I think it's patients with duplicate names. Yep, there it is. Patients with duplicate names. And of course, I probably won't get anything on here.
Yeah, probably not. But
nope, I don't. Yeah, but this is a great report to run. Now, remember, you may have two William Smiths. It will only see it duplicated if it's William J. Smith and William J. Smith. So, just be aware of that.
Yep. What version of Eaglesoft are you using right now? We have a question.
This is 17 that I'm using now. So usually people say, "Oh, well, I don't have the current version." So I always keep the version 17 running in my office, and I have a version 18 and a version 19 that I can switch off to.
Okay. And can we run reports to look for missing things, like, I don't know, phone numbers, emails, consents? Is there a way to pull reports to find when patients are missing something?
You could, but I mean, here's the question. Again, why are you doing this? If you're trying to find patients like who are coming in today who are missing those things, the easiest way is to do an IntelliCare, which is something we talk about a lot. But IntelliCare, that would actually put a indicator on your schedule that somebody is missing an email address or a phone number or whatever, so that as they come in, you can solve those issues coming in.
Right. And we'll do a webinar specifically on IntelliCare alerts, because there's a lot to know about those. They're great, but you have to really understand how to set those up. So that'll definitely be a future webinar. All right, can you talk about Smart Docs? You talked about putting them into InContact, but what do we put in Smart Docs? Where do we put our end-of-day reports, our end-of-month reports? What do you recommend for all of that?
Well, I think and again, going back to being paperless, almost all the reports that are generated at the end of month should go into Smart Doc. And just like every patient has a Smart Doc, the practice has a Smart Doc. So if I go to List and I go to Practice Information, so here's my practice information, I have a Smart Doc. And whenever I generate a report, a copy of that, and let's see if I even have them on, a copy of that report goes into Smart Doc. So if 5 years from now and you're trying to look for an accounts receivable report from 2013, you could go here and find, there's my service by types, and I'll probably get an error message. Yeah, a service by type from 2005 that I could look at. So all of my reports, my end of month reports, I save a copy into the practices Smart Doc, and that's just an automatic thing when you run your end of month reports. Those things automatically get saved to Smart Doc.
Is there an option that we can add a report to automatically go into Smart Doc, or how do we do that?
So in Preferences, there is a Smart Doc button, and it actually tells you, are your end of month reports going, your end of year reports? And I don't have by choice, my end of day reports going because it's just too many reports.
Right.
But I automatically keep my end of month and end of year reports automatically saved as a PDF into SmartDoc.
And then my question is, being green and trying to be paperless and all of that, offices will ask, how long do we keep reports? Do we print these reports? Do we keep them in there? And I know the one thing I'm going to say is, if you're trying to be paperless, you need to have a very good backup system. You need to make sure that you can, if something happens to your server, that you've got the backup on the cloud and that you have availability to that. But what are your thoughts about printing these reports? I know the doctors sometimes want to see it. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I know when I worked in an office, we printed them, we kept them in a binder. But at this point, yes, you should be keeping them legally. I don't know that there's an answer I can give you. I think it's probably the same as anything else. 7 to 10 years is typical. But do you need to save them? That's up to the practice.
Right.
Do you want to save them? Depends on how often you need to look back on them. But if my end of month reports are here, I can probably recreate a month based on my end of month reports.
Yeah. And are there any things you recommend in the monthly reports that we look at besides day sheet? Is there any other reports that are monthly?
Well, and again, depends on the sort of the point of reference you have for the running of your business. Your consultant may have an idea of what they want to do. It all depends. A lot of the reports that run at the end of the month are, if they're open claim reports and things like that, you may see that on a daily basis and might not need to run it. But the nice thing is it's automatically being saved to your SmartDoc. So let it be, and if you print it or not is your choice.
Yep. And the one thing I'm going to say here, I mean, you've heard us mention RevenueWell. So somebody mentioned that RevenueWell can help you with reports of like missing emails, because I'd asked you that question earlier. And both Andre and I work with multiple companies. If you're looking to be paperless, if you're looking for backup, of your software or the server, if you're looking for how to get more data out of Eaglesoft, we work with a bunch of companies. So if you reach out to either of us, we will be able to get you connected with companies to help you, because Eaglesoft is great, but we have this wonderful technology now that can take it to the next level. So either one of us can help you if you have questions about, the next step. So Andre, do you have anything else you want to add to this? I think our questions are slowing down. So is there anything else you'd like to point out?
Well, I think, a lot of this, garbage in, garbage out. So, if you want a report to really work well, you've got to prepare for it to work very well. So, anybody who has any questions about these things, let me know. And we can also build another webinar about a very narrow focus on one of these reports too.
Yeah, that's great. And so can you show again, somebody asked about practice SmartDocs, and then I will take back over and we will end this. So
practice SmartDocs are under list, practice information, and then there's a SmartDoc button, just like you have in every patient. There's a SmartDoc button that will bring up all of the SmartDocs for that practice, going back to the beginning of whatever time your practice was open, and saving information in SmartDoc.
Excellent. And I am getting some questions here. Somebody asked about Quick Fill Report, Recall Wizard. We're going to go into all of this. Andre and I geek out on Eaglesoft, and we want to try to keep each webinar about an hour. We want to keep it specific. Quick Fill, Recall. We're going to have one specifically on that, because I think it's really important to go into. So don't worry, we'll have future ones. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the little the little picture that was on the desk, it's a little picture of Andre. I bet all of you guys wish Andre was the one who you were reaching out to sometimes. But that being said, I want to make sure that you guys know that we're here to help you. What we want to do is we want to really be a resource for dental offices. So I hope that this webinar was great to kind of give you an overview of reports. I want to tell you just 2 cents on Front Office Rocks. What we do at Front Office Rocks is online front office training. So basically I teach the why behind all of the things that we do in the front office. So I help train your employees on why is it important to run these reports, and why is it important to try to reactivate patients. All of our videos are online. It's $149 a month. There's no long-term contracts. We do videos, we have documents, we have policies. I get you connected with resources like wonderful Andre, who can help you with Eaglesoft. So please reach out to Front Office Rocks if you're looking to get help in your office, not only training new employees, but current employees. And then Andre, you want to give us a little, let us know a little bit more about what you've got on Facebook?
Yeah, so everybody should go to Facebook, look for the Andre's Eaglesoft Field Guide. join up. We're just above 2,800 members, and May 18th, we're actually doing the first Eaglesoft live event where everybody who loves the software is getting together in Philadelphia to hang out, learn more, and get deeper with the software.
I am so bummed I can't make it. Hopefully you're going to have more of those. So I have people thanking you so much for all your help with Eaglesoft. I have somebody who's a member of Front Office Rocks saying, tell everybody how happy they are with the training. So please, stay connected with us. You can catch me on Front Office Rocks on all the social media. You can find Andre on Facebook. And our next one we're going to do, we're scheduling it. We're going to try to do one a month. We're going to talk about posting payments and making sure we get team members doing it the correct way, the right way. So please look out for that next one. We will save all of these on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them later. You can train employees on it. You can refer to it later when you need it. And then also comment on it on our social media and let us know what other things you want to talk about. We're going to work through each section of Eaglesoft. So we really want this to be a resource to help you. So when there's something Eaglesoft can do for you, we can help you with it. So Andre, any final words before we let everybody head back to their offices?
Everybody get back to work.
Get back to work. All right. We'll talk next time. Thank you, Andre. I hope everybody has a great day, and reach out to us if you need anything. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks.